community approach to the management of crimes and criminal behavior in Nigeria is the latest in the crime fighters' attempt to curb the menace of the rising crime rates in the country.
Root out all criminals, call them on phone, email them, send them messages, tell them no place for criminals in Lagos anymore.
At the Forum of Northern Traditional Rulers in Kaduna State this year, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, announced the planned introduction of community policing by the federal government, owing to the critical security issues in the country, especially as they affect the north.
While social factors like unemployment, peer group influence, drug abuse, social and educational exclusion, and other factors like globalization, climate change, cross-ethnic intolerance, proliferation of firearms, and violent extremism have been identified as causative factors in the threat of crimes in northern Nigeria as in the other parts of the country. The reality remains community policing remains a potent crime control model. However, to give a sustainable effect to the model in Nigeria, they need to integrate it into policing functions at institutional and national level remains imperative. It is in cognizance of this that my office is currently coordinating with the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the National Security Advisor towards in placing the National Community Policing and Internal Security Policy Framework to regulate the process. The policy will define pathways for the attainment of the community policing initiatives, define specific roles of all strategic community actors, as well as the law enforcement community component, and also clearly define the interrelationship and obligation of each of the actors. In addition, the policy will ensure the integration of community policing models into training curriculums of the police and other law enforcement agencies while evolving structures to support its implementation. In due course, a community policy implementation committee, which will act as a standing committee to oversee the implementation of the strategy in the Nigeria Police over the period of time, will be inaugurated. I'm convinced that the internal security threat being experienced in northern part of Nigeria and other parts of the country shall be sustainably mitigated with the full adoption of this policing principle.
According to the IG of Police, the new policy, ready to be adopted by almost every Nigerian state, will involve the establishment and utilization of special constables within their localities. The idea of community police policy looks to have unseated the clamor for state policing. The Inspector General of Police says state policing requires each state government to create, recruit, train, and manage a policing system separate from the federal government, while community policing is engaging the community in every aspect of policing, making policing initiative come from the community rather than the high command.
The breakdown of the community policing deployment plans covers the recruitment of a total of 40,000 community policing officers across the country in the interim. The community policing officers will be recruited from within the communities where the prospective applicants reside. An average of 50 community policing officers are to be engaged in each of the 774 local government areas. In addition, 1,300 community policing officers will be drawn from the professional bodies like the academia, road transport union, artisans, traders associations, religious bodies, women unions, and youth organizations, amongst others, in order to ensure diverse representations. The community policing officers shall be deployed to complement the police in law enforcement functions within their localities by performing low-risk and non-sensitive duties. They will also act as liaisons between the police and their communities.
NPM.
Here arrives the South-South Security Summit, the fourth in the series of an initiative organized to proactively address the diverse as well as emerging security threats facing the 6 states in the South-South region of the country.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Delta State, the Inspector General of Police, Muhammad A. Adamu, MNI, and all other distinguished guests here with us.
The Governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, is the host.
Community policing is essentially a collaboration between the police and the people to identify and nip problems in the board before they escalate into full-blown security challenges. It is a practical approach to improving the processes and platforms that engender peace building, preserve our collective security, enhance the credibility of our criminal justice system, and deliver better policing services. Community policing is a law enforcement philosophy predicated on the realization that our collective security is far too serious and important to be left to law enforcement agencies alone. All members of the community are active partners and participants in the effort to guarantee the peace and safety of individuals, communities, cities, and nations. It has been established globally that at least 40% of crimes are solved based on information supplied by the public. The most critical component for constructing a strategic and effective partnership for community policing is trust between the police and the people they serve. Trust is the glue that binds the parties together and the foundation that enables problem-solving and conflict resolution. Regrettably, the relationship between the police and the average citizen in our country is currently marred by distrust, suspicion, and even outright resentment. The police is generally perceived not as a friend, but as a conquering force working at the behest of those of us who are in the ruling class. There is therefore a compelling need to break down the walls of apathy and rebuild the trust through deliberate policies and actions. And I think that is one of the important steps that have been taken by the Inspector General of Police to try to rebuild the trust and make the people work together with the police.
Themed Strategic Partnership for Effective Policing in the South-South Zone, the gathering seeks to find more effective ways to reduce and prevent heightened cases of cultism, armed proliferation, farmers-herders clashes, kidnapping, sea piracy, sex trafficking, and other security challenges peculiar with the region.
Yes, Edo is the entry point into the sub-region, to the South-South. But we are particularly porous in terms of security because we are the node or the nodal state in the country. We are quite porous as people can come in from the west, the east, the south-south into the state. That is an advantage in itself, but that poses some security challenges. It requires quite a lot more policing than many other of our brother states. We've also had the unfortunate experience of organized crimes, particularly kidnapping. And what has been interesting, particularly the cases we have reviewed in the last several weeks, have been that these gangs, the gangs we've seen, particularly the deadly ones, operate between Edo and Delta. Found in the recent past, quite a bit of the high-profile kidnappings done in Edo. So the victims are moved through the waterways into the other parts of our sub-region. We have a major challenge, like you in Delta, of thuggery, which is occasioned by huge youth unemployment. In Edo, as in Delta, we are challenged by human trafficking and irregular migration. Of concern to us also are the issues of economic and financial crimes, particularly what you call these Yahoo crimes. And associated with that is cultism. So as we review our policing challenges, one thing is clear from what we have heard this afternoon, that underneath it all is the absence of an opening up of a system, the absence of economic opportunities to cater for the rapidly changing population explosion or demographic change which we are facing.
We want to commend you and your team for doing a very great job. But that notwithstanding, there are a few issues, a few unique and peculiar crimes that are of very serious concern to us. One of which is the incident of child theft. We are not talking of the incident of baby factories or smuggling or trafficking of children. No, we are talking of actual stealing of children as if they are just basic commodities. The tendency where criminal elements go to homes, vulnerable homes in rural communities, and pluck children off the hands of their helpless mothers, break into homes and pick out children. If I'm not mistaken, Akwa Ibom has one of the highest statistics in this type of crime. The consensus here is that community policing is a veritable tool, it's a veritable platform in enhancing policing. And even the IG made that clear in his speech, that no matter the level of training, no matter the level of funding, no matter the level of infrastructure, whatever you put in place, if you do not put in place a kind of policing that engenders the community, puts them into the fray, then we cannot, there will be a deficit. The concept itself is one of the most unambiguous in some of the issues or concepts that define discourse in our national narrative. It's a very simple concept to understand. In its simplest form, we could call it grassroots policing, bringing policing to the grassroots, making the communities to buy into the policing process so that they themselves, are part of the process, working closely with the conventional agencies to define and set standards of policing in their communities. In as much as we all buy into the argument that community policing is something we cannot do without at this point in time in our policing architecture, we really need to ask ourselves if what we are doing is actually community policing. My boss also wants to put on record that also contradicting the principles of community policing is the tendency that we observe in our state where manpower, security manpower, particularly the police and other agencies, we have a high turnover at both tactical and strategic level. Before you say Jack, an officer comes today, a CP, tomorrow is gone. At times, within 1 week, we have CPs changed 2 or 3 times. It's an issue for us because we believe that not just consistent with community policing, but for a security operative to master his ground, he needs time to settle down.
There's no doubt that traditional rulers are the closest to the people, therefore engaging them more in tackling crimes in their domain.
It is necessary that traditional rulers are given a primary place in the community policing because they are the leaders, the custodians of culture and tradition of their people. They understand the sensibilities of their people. They know their mannerism. They know everything about them. And therefore, if a policeman or there are community policing all over our place, the traditional ruler should be the first port of call, should be given a pride of place in community policing, and make sure that he is part of the planning so that the policeman who comes into our communities are assisted adequately by the traditional ruler so that his work becomes easy for him. So I want to say that so far in our community, that is Opobo community, we have had very good relationship with the police, but I know things are happening in other communities that the police need to take very seriously. The issue of changing the narrative in our communities about what people think about the police. The police should also be trained and retrained to make sure that their relationship between the communities where they work, is cordial. The people will trust them. If the people trust the police, they will certainly give them their best and assist them.
That for us to get something positively done, we must respect this aspect of knowing that if you are a policeman anywhere you are in the country, you respect the law respects you. Now, I want to use this opportunity to thank my state police commissioner, because in the past it is not easy to contact the police when something is happening. You also get the police at the lower rank. You just make a simple call and you get a police officer to attend to you. So in this direction, I want to thank the state governor for his contributions in supporting the police in this state. This state, we have supported the police and we will continue to support the police because we are part and parcel of the system, even though some of the people are not in uniform. I want to use this opportunity to congratulate the new IG for what he has been doing in ensuring that police duty is moved from from the stage we are to a higher level.
Frankly, we have the vigilantes in our communities, which are being run by the community leaders. If these people are taken and trained almost like the special constabulary and given ranks and so on, it will go much better than we talking about deploying people. I know this is not in the hands of the police itself, whether they are state police or not. The police invited us here briefly and firmly to tell us what they are doing in a situation which is beyond their control. So I'd like to point it out clearly to all that what I'm saying is over and above what we're discussing here. The police have spelled out what they are doing, brilliant. But in the final analysis, I pray and the members of the National Assembly here and other persons who have the authority to make things happen. Please, let's have state police, county police, and we can franchise the police in the interim to be doing the community policing. Thank you very much.
It's the turn of the IGP to speak. He emphasizes on the promise to build on the capacity of not just crime prevention, but effective response to any crime situation or threat across the country.
There is no police force within any clime in the world that can achieve its mandate in isolation of the community they were established to serve. Implicit in this assertion is that regardless of the number or quality of human resources, logistical capacity, funding profile, remuneration, and policing strategies that are in place, the achievement of the mandate of police, as well as the security and safety of the community they serve, shall remain under threat if there are partnership, community, and trust gap existing between the police and the citizens. This underscores the importance of this event. The greatest outcome of the previous summit is the resolve by all stakeholders in the zones to support and collaborate with the police towards engendering community safety. I am delighted to note that this new policing framework has been serving as an invaluable source of motivation for us in our firm commitment to addressing crimes that are peculiar to each of the regions. In doing this, we have incorporated the inputs of the stakeholders towards strengthening and implementing our strategies.
The IGP says there's been a decline in the rate of crime nationwide.
On a national scale, we have been evaluating and re-evaluating our operational strategies while strengthening our institutional capacity in relation to the generation of actionable intelligence and the conduct of special operations directed at proactively responding to criminal situations across the country. I am delighted to note that Operation Pop Adder, which we launched as a strategy to stabilize the security profile of the country, coupled with the other strategy that we have in place in January 2019, have so far produced a success story. This is evidenced by the fact that the rate of the major internal security threat, which I inherited upon my assumption of duty as the Inspector General of Police, has been on the decline. The point being highlighted, Your Excellency, is that Nigeria Police in recent months have developed strong operational capacity and demonstrated the requisite professional zeal, such that today we can confidently say that we have the institutional capacity not only for preventive actions, but for responding actively to any crime situation or threat. We have also acquired the unique capacity to locate and apprehend criminal elements and disrupt their unlawful enterprises across the country in the most proactive and swift manner. No country is or can be crime-free. The fundamental element is that the police must continually manifest the capacity to prevent and bring such felons to justice, and the citizen must, as a civic responsibility, demonstrate the willingness to support the police and other law enforcement agencies at all times.
Deacon Kingsley Burutu Otwaro.
For the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, the traditional rulers have a lot to do in curtailing crime in their domain.
To the traditional rulers, I must say, if we want this to work, community policing to work, we must key with the police. We must be our own watchdog. The criminals are not Mami Water. The criminals are not spirit. They're human beings, they have a name, they have addresses. We know them. We know their parents. We know their friends. We know where they live. We know their activities, evil and good. What have we people done? Let us be mindful. Community policing is people-based. People-based. The orientation, people-based. The awareness, people-based. What am I talking about? Talk to the people. Explain to them their rights and privileges. What is your mission statement? What is your role? Key on to it. Thank you.